Hello all and welcome to the webinar on Breakthrough Innovations in Video Analytics. I am Mansi from the communications team at Drishti. Here's a little something about us. Drishti uses artificial intelligence and computer vision to optimize manual assembly processes on a massive scale for the first time in the history of manufacturing. We recognize that a large percentage of our discrete manufacturing relies on people who are the most flexible, but also the most variable components on the assembly line. Seems like a lot of you have been in touch with us. Glad to have you back. Here's a new video we have launched about Drishti. Now, this video will be played on the screen, which is going to lay a foundation for the discussion that we're going to have today. I now request Ashwin to please play the video for us.
Every now and then, a new technology emerges that fundamentally alters the status quo. In manufacturing today, that technology is action recognition from Drishti. Traditional object recognition can tell you these are cars. That's because it identifies a single frame in 2D. Meanwhile, Drishti's AI can process multiple frames and includes a third dimension, time. Here you can see action recognition from Drishti registering every step in this assembly cycle, which means Drishti can tell you that the line associate installed the hose, threaded the start bolt, secured the start bolt, and installed the fuel tube in that order, and with a measure of how long each individual step in the cycle took.
Drishti is making an impact on manufacturers in a completely unique way. The data set that is created from the machine vision and the AI we're applying to it is a set of data that no manufacturer has ever had before.
Customers are choosing to use Drishti in their manufacturing plants because manufacturing right now is very competitive. They're looking for differentiators that they can use to make their products more effectively and be able to do them with fewer defects. And with Drishti, we can provide that tool.
Manufacturers around the globe use action recognition from Drishti and the associated insights that come with new data to continuously improve manual assembly lines. With Drishti, manufacturers can address well-known manufacturing challenges like bottlenecks and line imbalances. They can minimize defect and scrap rates and identify and address training needs.
This is allowing them to find efficiencies and ways to optimize the line that they've never had access to. And we're actually excited about exploring with our customers ways to use this data beyond the obvious improvements in the line.
Whether manufacturers are seeking to boost productivity, minimize quality issues, drive standard work adherence, or generally improve assembly processes, Drishti can help. And that's just scratching the surface of what Drishti can help manufacturers do.
Drishti is being used today in manufacturing primarily in the automotive sector. We're rapidly moving, though, into other areas, including medical device, consumer products, electronics, virtually anything that represents humans at work where there's manual assembly occurring. We will be the leader in automated video analysis that allows you to create business insights from people at work. At the moment, we're focused exclusively on manufacturing, but as we progress, we're being asked to take a look at other environments, such as warehousing, retail, logistics, healthcare environments, food service. So the future is extremely bright.
Thank you for playing the video, Ashwin. For all of you, Ashwin is our business analyst and has been instrumental in providing tech support to this webinar. To begin with, thank you for being a part of this webinar. You could also get in touch with us on social media or subscribe to our newsletter to keep yourself posted on the latest in technology and the vacancies we have at Drishti. If you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to ping us on the chat box. You can also get in touch with our speakers on LinkedIn. The links to their profiles is also on the chat box right now. Moving on, we have with us Chirag Ravindra, software engineer at heart and the UI lead at Drishti. Chirag is an ardent pet parent. When not geeking out building software, jamming, playing video games, or playing with his many four-legged friends, he likes to take time out to give back to the community by being active on forums like Stack Overflow and contributing to open source projects. Chirag is the moderator for today's webinar. Thank you, Chirag, for accepting to moderate. Welcome to the webinar. The spotlight is all yours.
Thanks, Manasi. Before we jump right in, I'd like to take a moment to introduce the rest of the panel. Up first, we have Cibi. Cibi is our resident JavaScript ninja. He comes with like a deep experience in React and Vue.js. He has built many tools for Drishti, both internal and external, that are intuitive to use and loved by the users. CB, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Hi.
And up next, we have Devashish, who is the machine learning and math nerd at Drishti. Dev and I go way back, and I remember long evenings where he would be tweaking his PokerBot models in the middle of hanging out with his friends. Dev, do you want to say hello?
Hey, everyone.
And finally, we have Kirti, who is our resident design guru. She comes with a lot of experience in building intuitive user interfaces with a keen eye for detail and lots of empathy for users and their experience. Kirti, please say hello.
Hi, happy to be here.
All right, now that we're all introduced, let's just jump right into it. So video analytics is a very interesting space that we are in today. And obviously, we had to have like a lot of innovations, both on the video front and the analytics front, to even be able to do what we're doing today at Drishti. So I'm just going to open up this question to the panel. And so what do you guys think? So where are we now? How did we get here? And where do you think we can go from here?
Absolutely, Chirag. So if you think of video, it's a very powerful medium, right? We like to we like to think about our movies and think about the scenes of our movies, right? It's highly impressionable. So video as a tool has been so important for us as a preferred medium of communication. I think video was just waiting for the opportune moment for it to be adopted so widely and to have it in our so accessible reach. Our cell phones have so much of video content that we consume. The fact that we are live streaming this, I think it's just amazing. So yeah, video has gone through a lot of leaps and bounds and come to this point.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Kirti, so video is now accessible to everyone, and that's because video has become digitized, right? Early days, we used to have like, in theaters, if you see, there is like no digital content. It's all, using films or something like that. But now we are in the world of, reels, TikToks, and all these stuffs. And it all happened because of, the way back, if I go there. So it all happened back in 2000 when YouTube started as a blogging medium. And it's not just in the entertainment, right? We have been consuming video in different formats. For example, CCTV cameras, where we used to install in our homes, and and we used to monitor what's happening around the scene, right? And and also you mentioned that the reason we are able to do this webinar is also because of the innovation in video as well as the technology. And yeah, I will leave it up to Devashish for explain more about that, what are the things that's happening under the hood.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of technical innovations have made all of this possible, right? Like the first thing is just the internet, right? Internet used to be very slow and not even accessible to most people, say even 10, 15 years ago, right? Like I remember a time when I had to wait an entire night just to download one movie, right? Whereas now I can just go to Netflix, do a single click, and bam, the video starts playing. So a lot of technical innovations have gone in, and to a user it looks very simple, right? Okay, I go to YouTube, I click something, and suddenly something starts playing. But what happens under the hood is quite complex. Like if we have some ML engineers or video engineers in the crowd, they would understand what I'm saying, right? So there were a lot of complex algorithms like H264, H265, which are developed to allow streaming video with like a good quality with a good compression ratio. There is also things like WebRTC, different protocols that have been developed, MPEG-Dash, to make things easier, right? And I would say, even though we have made a lot of leaps, it is still hard to do. Like building a production-ready, low-latency video streaming pipeline, right? In today is not very straightforward. Like we still rely on tools like FFmpeg, older tools, which are like quite hard to use in sometimes. So yeah, definitely a lot of technical challenges.
Absolutely. I think we have come like a long way from like black and white Charlie Chaplin movies to people being able to instantly create videos on their phone and share it with millions. And of course, this stream of innovations is not just limited to video, it's also happened in analytics, right? So what do you guys think about that?
I would add to that point. So as you mentioned, analytics has grown a lot, right? So information is the oil of the 21st century. And like oil, the data is only useful when it's in a usable format, like how if we are able to derive an insight out of it, right? And analytics is the combustion engine for that, for us to know more about the data. I'll take an example of a cricket game. So back like 5 or 10 years back, I don't remember seeing any of the statistics, going up in the live, cricket match, right? But nowadays, if you see, you can even know the speed of the ball after each ball is out, and you can get a lot of statistics in and out, right? So after every ball, after every over, right? And it is so real time, correct? And we can also choose the squad based on the performance, based on the previous data, instead of relying on the intuition to pick a player. So you can choose a player based on how he performed in a certain pitch condition, how he performed against a bowler or weather condition, right? So people are moving away from the intuitive based to data driven model. So another example would be if you're using some betting apps like for cricket again, right? Would you simply bet on a player because you like him, or you feel that that player will perform well? No, right? So it's all, you will also, as a normal user, we would also rely on some data to actually pick a player, correct? So it's all come down to how we use the data. And as people are moving away from intuitive based to data driven model, companies are also adapting it in a large scale with introduction of big data and a lot of these new technologies. Like we are able to do it at a large scale, right? Yeah, that's what I feel about the data.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we have moved from ledgers and Excel sheets to now detailed dashboards and analytics, right? So with the help of the data pipeline models, or the data pipeline technologies and the models generated by AI ML technologies, we are able to now analyze large and continuous data in real time, as the example that you've given, Cibi. And businesses have been able to benefit from this a lot. From this whole continuous access to customer data, they are now able to serve experiences via analytics, and even serve analytics as an end product. So, for example, web analytics and customer analytics have been very instrumental in businesses taking strategic decisions, right? They can figure out what should be the improved user flow, what should be the way the customer should interact, so that you get an improved numbers. And interestingly, this whole thing is continuous in nature. You can continuously experiment and innovate around it. And on the other hand, analytics has become commoditized. So with the help of IoT, unstructured data is now getting very accessible. And if you take the example of, let's say, fitness apps, right? Now with the help of the fitness bands, we actually know how many steps you have taken. We actually know how many calories you have burned. And in a nutshell, we are telling how healthy you are. So there's deep amount of insights that businesses are giving and serving the customers through this analytics product itself. And from a user experience point of view, I really find that there is a shift in how consumers behave with this whole onset of analytics, right? It's not just that consumers are wanting to have rich experiences. They also want to become goal setters and goal chasers. So you yourself want to get back to the app and see how well you are doing. Are you taking more steps? Have you become more healthy over time? So yeah, it's amazing that we are able to come to this level of innovation. And I'm sure there's a lot of technologies and engineering behind all this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people have generally become more data driven than intuition driven, right? And not much change has happened in human psychology in, say, last 20, 30 years. So what has changed? It's technology, right? Like if you were to make data driven decisions, say 30 years back, what option did you have? Maybe you'll have a sheet of paper where you'll manually write down some things and do some sums using some calculator or something, right? That is not a very scalable way. So computers have become better and faster and able to handle more data, right? Like in 20 years back, having a system with kilobytes of memory was considered a big thing, whereas now we have phones with gigabytes of memory, right? So computers in general have been able to process more and more data. And even there, a lot of leaps have happened in recent days. Like 10 years back, maybe Excel sheet used to be your primary data analytics method, right? And you were limited by the amount of data you could store in a single machine. Now we're in the age of distributed systems. So we can have big data, right? You can have data spread across multiple machines. SQL databases have become more optimized so that you can run queries on large data sets. You have NoSQL, which has come up, which can now allow us to build systems with simpler primitives. So definitely a lot of innovation in general in computers, which has led to all this analytics revolution, right? And the newer big thing obviously is machine learning. So using machine learning, people can do much more sophisticated insights rather than just averages and things like that, like predictive analytics, predict demand of a product, predict how much sales is going to happen, or in case of Drishti, predict how many units will be assembled, and so on. So machine learning is definitely driving the next wave of analytics.
Yep. So there have been like a lot of innovations, both on the video front and the analytics front, to bring us to a place where, we're in a webinar talking about video analytics. But before we jump into the specifics of what and how we do that at Drishti, what does video analytics mean to you?
To me personally, what is video analytics? Right? So video analytics is, the main goal is to automatically recognize the temporal or spatial events that's happening in a video. For example, a flame in a city, or a person disobeying a traffic signal, or monitoring a patient in a hospital, right? So these are very few examples of what video analytics can detect. But with a few years, it's gaining interest in both industry and academic worlds, right? So video analytics has introduced automation of tasks that were very tedious for a human to do, right? For example, what we are doing at Drishti, and what other video analytics application are doing, right? But all these are okay, but how this is actually benefiting our business, right? So Chirag, what do you think, like how these video analytical solutions can, how industries can adopt solutions like these, in their regular, work state?
Yeah, let me just talk about specific to what we do at Drishti, right? So at Drishti, we're solving like 100-year-old manufacturing problem. Back in the day, when people were assembling products on the factory floor, there would be, to improve the processes, there would be, or even just to measure it, there would be a human needed to go stand on the factory floor, bring out a stopwatch and like a pen and paper, and kind of measure the people as and when they were assembling the product. And obviously this has like certain limitations, right? First of all, the sample set or the number of measurements that you can make is limited, because you can only have so many humans running around taking measurements. And apart from that, there was also what they call the observational bias, where people behave differently, or maybe even better, when doing things when observed by another human being. But what we do at Drishti is we just collect a video of these people doing these things all the time. And the entire thing goes through like a neural network. And then the neural network brings out these measurements and creates like dashboards that people can use to optimize their processes. And this obviously gives us like a far larger sample set and like a better view into like how things are actually happening.
Yeah, and when people think of AI, right, definitely like AI has done a lot of automation over here, right? Like going back to the cricket analogy, I'm sure when in cricket matches you have analytics saying pull shot or hook shot, there is a human being sitting there who's labeling every time. Okay, this was a pull shot or this was a hook shot, so we can get analytics on that. But now we have finally reached a stage where computers can do this kind of automatically. You give them raw video and they can recognize what actions are happening. And primarily this has happened due to advances in deep learning, right? Neural networks, you train them, they work a bit like kids in some sense, right? A very loose analogy. Like you give them a lot of training data that, you show them a lot of examples of a phone and lots of images of a phone. And eventually they'll learn that, this thing is a phone, whereas this thing is a mug, right? So they have some inbuilt pattern recognition. But to make these things work, a lot of training data is needed. So people don't realize when people think of NNs, right? AI, they think, okay, it will just something that will just automatically work out of the box, right? But that is not the case. They require a lot of training data, a lot of tuning to get them to work. So that is why annotation pipelines is very important. Then another sort of challenge is that on the factory floor, things keep changing. So you deploy a model today, but 10 days later, they brought in a new machine and your model accuracy drops. So because of that, we have to invest a lot in these continuous training pipelines where we automatically monitor and improve the model over time. So a lot of engineering, a lot of traditional engineering, not just model development, that goes into building a successful machine learning application. So Cibi, maybe you want to talk about some challenges associated with like things like annotation pipelines, right? Like annotation pipeline is where people go and label data for the machines to learn.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Devashish. So when people heard the word AI, they feel like, okay, something magic is happening, and they tend to miss the whole picture of what's happening behind the scenes, right? It's not just the AI. Even if you have 100%, or no, not 100, but 98% accurate AI models, like without a proper, system around that, it's not at all useful for anyone to consume, right? And so, as you mentioned, that building the annotation pipeline itself is a really challenging task, especially for videos. If I have to annotate an image, let's say, so I can simply draw a box around a cat or a mouse and say, this is a cat, and we can train the models, right? But for video, there is a new dimension coming in, as we saw in the previous videos, Drishti introduction video. We are introducing a new dimension called time. So how do we tell to the models like this is, how do we introduce this? How do we make the system understand there is another dimension coming in, and how do we build tool to actually measure that, right? So that is where the challenges of building an annotation tool comes in. For example, you have a video, we can't just say draw a box and say this is where something is happening. We have to say like this is when the action starts and this is when the action ends. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges. Apart from building an annotation tool, there are a lot of challenges in software engineering around this video analytics, like how do we stream these videos in at least near real time? I'm not sure if we have be able to achieve real-time experience here, but at least near real-time experience. How do we stream videos right from this remote cameras to our browsers, users' browsers, right? And we have to, give an actionable insights to the users, right? If we cannot show these are the actions happen, and we need to tell the user like this is what happened, and these are the actions that you can take. Only then it will be helpful for a user to consume these video analytics, right? So these are some of the challenges that I think is around this whole video analytics solution, and we need a lot of front end, back end, video engineers, data scientists, a lot of other people comes into picture. It's not just the AI or ML engineers, right? It's a whole lot of engineers coming together to build a solution like this.
Right. So as you spoke about front end, right? I think the user interface is the natural extension of that. And now that we are doing so much engineering under the hood, the next important thing is how do we interact with our customers? How do we show the right information to our customers, right? So if we speak about the interfaces of video analytics tool, there are a couple of pieces over there. Let's first think about the annotation, right? That's the input that's being given to the AI, as you spoke about it, Cibi. So the challenge is, how do we build these annotation tools? How do we make it super simple for the users who may be right now ML engineers or the engineering side of the world, but maybe later the customers. How do they interact with these tools, and they tell the AI models, hey, this is the video that you need to be looking at. This is the region of interest that you need to be looking at. This is the object of interest that you need to be looking at, and this is the actions that the operator is doing, and hence you should be analyzing these particular set of operations, and this is the right sequence of operations. So there are so many questions that need to be answered through such self-annotation or such annotation tools or interfaces, and that's where I think Drishti is playing a very big role in creating such easy to use, accessible, user-friendly annotation interfaces. And once we come out of this, right, once the annotation happens and the AI models give out structured data, the other part is the output of this whole output of the whole data. And that's again a very important piece to the whole video analytics tool. How do we show information to the customer that it becomes very easy for them to understand the videos that were sent as an input, right? So with the structured data that we are giving out, we are definitely doing a lot of statistical analysis, and we give a lot of outliers to the customers. And these outliers are of high interest to our manufacturing floors, because they actually get to know where the customer is taking, or where the operator is taking more time, where the operator is not taking that much time, which part of the video is of higher interest, and which part may be acceptable. So it helps the customer to get into this whole root cause analysis that they do day in, day out. And the other part, which is very interesting, is since we are able to analyze the actions that the operator is doing, we call it action detection. We're able to tell if the operator is performing correctly or not. We're actually able to give them anomalies. Again, a very crucial piece of information for our customer. They're able to understand if the operator needs to undergo training or retraining before the whole assembly line becomes more efficient. So yeah, I'm really glad that our video analytics tool has been able to provide so much value to our customers.
Absolutely. And I think especially in industries like automotive or medical industries, whether someone is doing something right or wrong, and helping them fix something if something did indeed go wrong can be the difference between life and death. And not to mention like lots of savings and potentially avoiding lawsuits in the process. It's truly an exciting time to be alive. Now we can analyze and get insights from videos in real time like we do from structured data. But now that we're here, what do you guys think is next, and where do we go from here?
Yeah, so now that we spoke about building the whole annotation pipeline, building the whole ML pipeline, what's important is how do we bring this to the customer, right? How do we make this whole thing, as we call it, self-serve AI? The current methods that we use are very, very intense in terms of lot of manpower goes in actually just figuring out the right specifications. So we want to come to a point where our customers are able to specify the things that they want the AI models to recognize, and maybe also bring it to a level where they can train the models further. So we call it self-serve AI, and we have been moving in that direction. And on the other side, we also want to adopt self-serve charts, which means that we are not only giving, say, a histogram or a box plot chart to understand variability. We can actually give that power to the customer and let them figure out what's the right chart that they want to use for their particular use case. After all, it's not just one persona that we are solving for, or it's not that just we are solving for probably one industry, the manufacturing industry. We could even as well scale ourselves to other industries, and I think self-serve AI and self-serve charts is the way forward.
Absolutely. Like if you look at any modern tool, right, they're building these self-serve charts where users are very different from each other. Users want to see things differently. So that is why if you go to an application like Jira, you can build customized charts for your use case. And I think that is where the things are moving. Users are becoming more and more powerful, and they want to things their own way. And this is where self-serve AI, as you said, comes in, right? And I think that is the direction of future for this industry. So to just give people a bit of context, right? Like especially in a company like Drishti, where we solve a very specific problems, suppose for a station, right? Like actions for a station. If you see a video without anyone telling you what an action is, even a human being can't recognize what is an action, what is a cycle, right? So we don't have like a general model which you just go and deploy and it starts working. What we do is we retrain a model on the data for that station. So because the thing is so specific to that station, and this becomes a huge bottleneck at scale, because if you're deploying, say, thousands of cameras, you'll potentially have thousands of models. So that is why we are moving into this direction of self-serve AI, where we want the customers themselves to be able to train a model. So Drishti is building a platform which can allow you to train models, and we are making the process much easier. So we want it to be as simple as you go, you label some data. This is a cycle. This is an action. You label that. You click a button to train the model, and that's it. That is our vision of how simple we want the training to be. And there are a lot of innovations that go in under the hood for this, right, which are needed. There's obviously user interfaces to simplify things. And there are also things like semi-supervised learning. Like we want the neural network to pick up patterns with as little data as possible. This is like a very recent advance that has been happening in deep learning in the past few years, where earlier, it used to take like hundreds of images for a computer to learn what is a cat versus what is a dog. Now that can be done using just one example. So these are the promises of semi-supervised learning. So if we can combine semi-supervised learning, which we already have done a lot of work on, and just user can just label 1 or 2 examples of what they want to detect. And this is obviously future, like we're not there yet, but if that is possible, then that would really improve the self-serve AI, right? And people would be able to train the models themselves.
Yeah, so along with self-serve AI and self-serve chat, I also have another interesting point to add here. So AI processing today is done mostly on the cloud-based, data, right? So, and that demands for huge network cost, as well as there is some latency involved, right? So when you have to move something from your location to the cloud. So I feel that's where this whole thing of edge AI comes into picture, where you can do something within the operation within your place, right? Instead of relying on transferring something from one place to another place, right? And this also has a lot of advantage. For example, you have reduced cost, you have high security, you have privacy, and it's highly responsive as well. So because there is no latency involved here, right? And part of it is already happening, I would say. For example, we all have smart speakers in our home, which is an example for this. We have autonomous vehicles coming in, right? So with great power comes great responsibility. So there is also a demand of innovation in bringing the overall power efficient footprint, right? So if you are able to deploy something in the device itself, then it demands for a larger power efficient systems. So there are a lot of innovations to happen there as well, right? So that's what I feel about this. And also, as I mentioned, this on-premise AI, since if you are in the direction of self-serve AI and self-serve charts, then you can have a model trained by yourself, you can have some charts created by yourself, and have everything together packaged and have it on your own premises, have it on the manufacturing plant or in a hospital or maybe in a stadium or whatever that is, right? So doing things within reach, and this whole edge AI is the next step forward, is what I feel, and I can't really wait how it unfolds in the future.
So sometime in the near future, I as a customer of Drishti would be able to just log into the portal, have my video stream coming in, just say these are the things that I'm interested in, and then after the model would train itself based on that very limited information that I gave it and figure out what needs to be done. Then I'll be able to essentially look at the charts in the way that I want it to and say that, hey, I'm interested in the bar chart, but my colleague is interested in a pie chart, and we are interested in different perspectives of that data. And I think that's a pretty exciting future to look forward to. And of course, this, as you guys mentioned, this is no trivial task. It requires people from different backgrounds: engineering, design, video, and all that stuff comes together to create this application stack to create such a seamless experience. I think we're a little over time, so I'm just going to take a pause here and hand it over back to you, Manasi.
Wow. Thank you so much, Cibi, Devashish, Kirti, and Chirag, for such an insightful discussion. We've come a full circle in tracing all about video moving to video analytics. I would like to thank Arvind Saraf, Head of Engineering, for putting this topic together and facilitating the idea of this webinar. Thank you, Erin, Vignesh, Arjun, Yuvraj, Anne, and Sri Prem for the designs and the communication piece for the webinar. Thanks, Ashwin, for the technical support. And yes, a big thanks to Chirag for having moderated the session so well. I thank all the members at Drishti for your constant support and being a part of this. This has been a wonderful experience. Also, I guess a couple of them have joined a little late. So if you've missed out on any part of the webinar, feel free to subscribe to our newsletter that will carry the recording and the highlights of this webinar. You could get in touch with us on social media as well, the links to which is in the chat box right now. If you're excited about the kind of work we do, come join us. Please check out the career section on www.drishti.com for more information. We hope the webinar was useful and gave you meaningful insights on video analytics and computer vision industry. We hope to catch you soon in our future webinars. If that's okay with the speakers, shall we close for the day?
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for coming and joining us, and see you on the other side.
Thank you. Thank you.